real well if you're living on chips and sodas and deep fried foods, and you're gonna break things down. So what's so important is to stop breaking the tissue down. Take a look at some of those habits and see where you can make changes. And it's easier to do it slowly.
Right.
Just eliminate one thing a week. Don't eliminate everything at once. It'll drive you crazy. So, the body has its border patrol also, and in fact, it has two of them. It has the outer border, which is the skin, and that forms a protective layer that keeps microbes and other foreign material out of the system. When the skin becomes damaged, you cut it or scraped, this border then has become compromised, and it creates a greater risk of foreign things to invade into the body. So the second border that we don't see is the mucous membranes that line the lungs and the digestive tract. The mucous membranes, they form the internal skin. And their job is to screen out what comes into the body, allowing the good guys like oxygen and nutrients to enter. But it keeps the bad guys out, the bacteria and viruses and the other chemical pollutants out. If the internal border patrol is working the way that it should, you're just not susceptible to things that you're exposed to. You don't get sick from them. You don't get colds. You don't get flus, because the viruses are screened. The body's alert. It ends up cutting it off before it ends up getting into the cell, permeating the cell, and getting around in the body in this acid condition. So again, it goes back to, I've talked a lot about the body's terrain and the pH, and it is extremely important. And that's why you've got to have greens. I'm sorry if you don't like the greens, then juice them up with some pineapple. If you don't like it that way, then take it in a supplement.
Right, there you go. That's a good way.
The green drinks, there's a lot of really good ones out there. The Terra Greens, I love those as well. They're very, very good. And you can get those through the herbalmedicinedoctor.com. On Kingdom of Healing, there's the Nature's Harvest, which is a green drink. And it's outstanding. Like I said, when I was talking about the West Nile, I lived on a scoop of the Nature's Harvest in 8 to 10 ounces of Greek God's honey yogurt twice a day. And that's pretty much what I lived on.
Wow.
I lived on that for almost a year.
Woo, boy,
I didn't eat a lot of... That's how long it took, for my digestive tract and just the cells in my body to recover from how sick I was. And, they told me when I was released from the hospital that it would take me 6 months to get back on my feet. Well, it was 2 months. So it was the nutritional supplements. I was taking a lot of supplements, but hey, my stomach, I think it was so tore up from, I think it was like 5 different bags of antibiotics that they had hanging on that stand. Because like I said, every time I looked at that stand, it was like, oh God, I need some probiotics. This is not good. I can't have that amount of stuff going into my body. It needs to kill the bad stuff, but it's killing a lot of good too. And that's what ends up happening. You lose a lot of that good bacteria as well. So, if the internal border patrol is working really well the way that it should, like I said, you're not susceptible to these things that you're exposed to. With diseases like colds and flu, the mucous membranes of the respiratory system are the point of entry. And these respiratory membranes are also the primary line of immune defense against the colds and the flus. So these membranes secrete a thin layer of mucus for protection against the dust, pollutants, microbes. And this mucus, the mucus traps these minerals that are tiny hair-like projections that are called cilia, the CILIA, and it literally sweeps the debris out of the lungs. So just like your skin can become damaged, the lining of the causing the line of the immune system defense to be compromised, so can the mucous membranes. So in order to catch a cold or flu, you must damage or weaken the mucous membranes of your respiratory passages so that, in some way, so that the integrity of the body's border patrol isn't as effective as we were created for it to be. So how does this take place? There's a really strong connection between the mucous membranes of your digestive tract or your respiratory system. And, the real truth here is that most of the time, the problem is with one. And there'll be a problem, if there's a problem with one, there'll be a problem with another. So in other words, your intestinal inflammation and irritation will create a corresponding illness or irritation, weakness in the mucous membranes of the lungs and the sinuses. So the place to start is, keeping the body as healthy as you can. Like I mentioned when I was sick, I needed the probiotics. I needed the Nature's Harvest. I needed that concentration of those nutrients in order to get my system built back up. And so it's really, really important. And then, the steaming of vegetables and stuff like that, you've got to steam organic vegetables. Frozen vegetables do not have the nutrient value that the fresh organic will. And so, steam that.
Okay.
But wintertime,
I love steamed vegetables.
Yeah, so
Fresh steamed vegetables.
So in the wintertime, you're going to have to, go more to the frozen vegetables. And so always buy a good brand, a good organic brand, and an organic brand that did not help with the fueling of the money on the GMO bills that I was really, really depressed about that. Not depressed, but really saddened to see that there were so many well-known organic food companies that actually supported the misinformation that was given on the labeling of the GMO foods that were on a lot of states' legislation on bills, this past fall, so in November. So go back to my past shows, and I went through the whole list of them.
Right.
And so here we are. It's tomorrow's Christmas Eve.
Right.
And
sure
for those of us that are believers, the three wise men brought the baby Jesus, frankincense, gold, and myrrh. And so for centuries, there's been a time and place in throughout time that frankincense and myrrh at one time was more valuable than gold.
Wow.
Yeah, you stop and think about that. So, myrrh is wonderful for people who have, if there's an infection, whether it be bacteria or virus. Myrrh works really well as opposed to golden seal. Golden seal works on bacterial infections very, very well. But what golden seal can do after a prolonged period of time. It's not an herb that you want to take on a continual basis if you have low blood sugar, because golden seal has the ability to produce insulin in the body. And so if you take a longer than, it's something that, use it for the infection, and after a couple of weeks of that, discontinue it. But if you continue to take it, it's going to drive your blood sugar down lower. So an alternate for that is myrrh. Myrrh will take care of viruses and bacteria, but it doesn't have the effect on the blood sugar the way that golden seal will.
And that can be taken internally?
It can be taken internally.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Just wanted to make sure.
It can also, you can make a paste out of it with a little coconut oil and baking soda and the myrrh, and you can put that on a wound. You can add the myrrh or frankincense into whole leaf aloe vera, or just coconut oil or olive oil, and get it on a wound. Or you go to kingdomofhealing.com and get the Silver Shield gel, or the new one that is specifically for dressing wounds. That is, I always have that on hand as well. But back to the frankincense. Frankincense is used for inflammation. It enhances the effect of other oils. You can apply it on a location. You can, it's pretty strong tasting, so you can put a drop or two in a gelatin capsule and take it internally that way if you can't handle the taste of it. It supports skin tissue recovery, so burns, eczema, psoriasis, things like that. You can add the frankincense in with lavender and whole leaf aloe vera, and it's very, very healing to the skin. It also, frankincense relieves headaches, and you can add that with a little bit of peppermint as well, and just kind of rub that under the temples and at the base of the neck, and helps to alleviate a headache. It also helps to soothe, frankincense helps to soothe hyperactivity and restlessness. So it's good to, like restless leg syndrome. Take that with some coconut oil or some olive oil, and put 3 or 4 drops into 4 ounces of, it would be less expensive, to go ahead and put it into a virgin light olive oil, and rub that over the legs and the feet and the ankles for the restless leg. You can also diffuse it, put it in a diffuser, and it's really good with mental clarity, and it helps you really to focus a lot better. Myrrh is, again, that's in that natural antibiotic category as well. Myrrh also is very good with any type of gum disease problems or any inflammation of the gums. And the tissue of the gums is the same as the tissue of our heart.
Really?
So it's extremely important to keep your gums very, very healthy. Very healthy.
Wow.
So I had a friend years ago who had had some dental work done, and she had an abscess. And the doctor did, he ended up, oral surgeon, went in and cleaned and scraped and cleaned that all up, and then did a root canal, which I don't, that's a whole other show on root canals. And about 2 weeks later, she lives way, way, way up in the mountains, and a couple weeks later, she couldn't move her leg. And she had just this excruciating pain that went through her hip.